Hello everyone, Simon Bart here, and welcome back to another Top 10 list. Yeah, we already did that in the last video, we don't need to do that again. Now it is that time to look over my favorite movies of the past year. And just like before, I'm only going over the ones I saw, and there's no runners-up this time, with me seeing less movies than in 2017. And again, this list will not be as expected to be. So, let's wrap up our look over the films of last year by counting on my top 10 list of my top 10 favorite movies of 2018. Number 10. Aquaman. After the release of Justice League, it looks like DC, for me anyway, is doing pretty well with their movies, and their latest one is no exception. Arthur Curry, aka Aquaman, born as a half-human, half-Atlantean, is the future heir to Atlantis. But his brother Orm becomes ruler of the Undersea Kingdom, and seeks to rule the ocean and surface world. But Arthur's told by his counselor, Vulko, that he needs to retrieve the Trident of Atlan to dethrone Orm and to prove himself as a true king. And with Atlantean Princess Mirai on his side, Arthur travels to find the Trident while being chased down by Orm's soldiers, and David Kane as Black Manta, seeking revenge on Aquaman for his father's death. While most of the film to me did feel like a mix of Hamlet and the King Arthur legend, there's just enough going on in the film to get some joy out of it. There's good characters, a nice story, very good effects, sweet fast action, and a sense of fun. Though not as big as Justice League, it's a very decent superhero flick, with it being more of its own thing than just a sequel. And for what it's worth, the film is pretty neat and moves along swimmingly. Number 9. Solo, a Star Wars story. Despite not being a big box office hit, it really is no surprise as to why. The film went through lots of production problems, with changing directors, months of reshoots, and so on. But with that aside and just looking at the film as is, it's quite an entertaining Star Wars movie. As much as I said how mind-blowing the film was originally, it's not as much from my second viewing, with the character motives, the predictable moments, and how it didn't end where I thought it would. But I still enjoy it. Even the cameo of the character near the end that had me speechless and was unexpected made me realize that the film made a connection to the TV show that many people have mentioned which I never saw before, and thought it was an original idea. So even though the film isn't all that surprising given from what I found out, it's still good despite that. The nice characters, the big story, the fun effects, the twists, the action, the comedy, it's all neat to witness. Overall, it's a good origin story to the Star Wars saga, but not quite as epic as Rogue One. Number 8. Fahrenheit 11/9. With now living in a time of Donald Trump being President of the United States, this documentary from Michael Mohr is not only a funny and tragic one, but is also insightful, important, and a must-see. Where Fahrenheit 9/11 focuses on the Bush administration soon after the World Trade Center attacks, this one focuses on the Trump administration from November 9th, 2016 onward, with looks on his politics, the election, and the social views of Trump as president. As well as the school shootings in Parkland, Florida, the teacher strike and protest over paying more when required to use a Fitbit, and the citizens of Flint, Michigan getting sick and dying from the contaminated water in the town river. At times it might feel uncomfortable to get through given the latter subject matter, and a few others, but the humor Mohr brings to Trump and his views are definitely fun. The way he balances harsh truths and witty comedy is very well put together and right without being too overboard in either subject, which is really how I see in some of his movies. In any case, this is a documentary that is worth seeing, and is one from Michael Mohr that is pretty good. Number 7. Incredibles 2. After 14 years since the original, the superhero family returns, and the film itself is nice. But to be honest, it's not one of the best films of the year, like everyone says it is. And it's not because of the surprise villain, since it's something I didn't mind and thought the motives were legitimate, with one exception, but it's because of how much it repeats elements from the first film, and it being a reversal of the first film, that I didn't bother owning the film myself, as the original is still my favorite Pixar film. Yet, there are plenty of good stuff to enjoy, and I do find them to be a good recommendation. The old characters and new characters are good, the story is fine for what it is, and all the action and animation is amazing. Plus the humor is fun. While I don't see it as one of Pixar's best films, or one of the best films of the year, I still enjoy it for all the action, animation, and characters. Number 6. Mirai. Now, I've only watched the English dub of this film, but that's not going to stop me from saying how lovely and sweet of a movie this is. Directed by Mamoru Hosoda, who also directed Wolf Children, Summer Wars, and The Girl Who Left Through Time, the film is about a boy named Kun, whose parents give birth to a baby girl they name Mirai, which means future. But the more Kun gets upset at his parents for paying more attention to Mirai, the more he realizes the importance and responsibilities of being a family, from other versions of his own family, including a human version of his dog, his mother as a child, and Mirai as a teenager. While it is very repetitive in the way it's told, the message of the movie is very understandable. It's all about family through bits and pieces of a generation, with a boy having to deal with sibling rivalry and trying to be a big brother to his little sister. It has a likable sweetness to it that's something to admire a lot, despite some exaggerated expressions from time to time. Plus, the animation is quite good, the characters are nice, and the imaginative visuals are lovely to see. It's an interesting look into the life of a family, and the meaning of having one that is truly timeless. Number 5. Christopher Robin. With all the live-action remakes Disney's been making, and with 3 of them coming out this year, it's surprising to note that the latest of them isn't quite a remake at all. It follows in a similar setup to Hook, but with the style and writing of A.A. Milne. Yet the problems I have with it are still present, with the 100-Acre Wood not looking very creative, and some of the character voices not having the same feeling as the other Pooh films, with the exceptions of Jim Cummings voicing Pooh and Tigger, and Brad Garrett voicing Eeyore. But everything else is pretty delightful. The good characters, the nice story, the good effects, the whimsical, sweet and funny moments, and the swell songs are what kept me from hating this film altogether. Though not as grand as the Beauty and the Beast live-action remake, it's still simply nice and sort of cute, with those lovable characters and the heart and spirit of Winnie the Pooh. Number 4. Venom. In a time when the Marvel movies from Disney are being loved by all, the Spider-Man movies from Sony are pretty mixed. But Venom is a pretty big one. To me, it's a fun movie, featuring good characters, a fine story, and great effects. And yet, sometimes the humor isn't much, and the story's a bit predictable, and the problems that other critics address I just don't see. All of the action is very cool, seeing Venom being the anti-hero is a nice change of pace from what I'm used to, and Tom Hardy does good in both roles than how Topher Grace did it in Spider-Man 3. And while Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse has great animation that is fine everywhere else, this one is just fun all around. And Sony's take on Marvel are the only ones I watch whenever they're on. Number 3. Hotel Transylvania 3, Summer Vacation. A much better film from Sony Pictures Animation than the Emoji Movie, but it's also the second best of the Hotel Transylvania trilogy. With good characters, a nice story, and really fun animation, it's pretty crazy and colorful with many wacky antics and situations that are hard for me to resist, and are downright entertaining. Even the moments I felt were awkward and a bit predictable, I now thoroughly enjoy after 4 or 5 viewings of it. And I'm convinced that portions of this movie were the Popeye movie that Tarkovsky was making until it was cancelled. I mean, look, It's set on a cruise, there's plenty of action and adventure, the animation is very exaggerated and cartoony, and Erica looks very much like a Popeye character. I have no confirmation of this and is purely a theory, but that's what I'm getting out of it. Bottom line, this is a pretty good sequel that's worth a watch for the Halloween season, or for any time of the year. Number 2. Teen Titans Go to the Movies. Now to be fair, I never seen a single episode of Teen Titans Go, but surprisingly, after watching the movie 7 times in theaters, yeah, you heard me, 7 times, the film got me interested in checking out the show. In fact, I enjoyed the film so much that I got the movie poster, these figurines, these comics, the movie on DVD, with the certified Rotten Tomatoes sticker I kept, and Season 1 on DVD, as well as Volume 1 of Season 2, both on my birthday. Yet for the movie itself, it's pretty fun and enjoyable. Granted, some of the jokes I found funny do get old the more times I watch it, but then some jokes still hold up, and at times the humor becomes so off again on again that I still enjoy the film despite that. The characters are fun, the story is nice, the animation is great, and the songs are good. It states the obvious and is self-aware in terms of superhero movies, and I went in not knowing what to expect, but came out being pleasantly surprised. It may not be a fair game for many, but seeing how it's a critical success, who am I to judge? It's the film that began my interest in the show, and soon after finishing another DC animated show, I'll immediately check this one out. And my number 1 favorite movie of 2018 is Dr. Seuss's The Grinch. Yep, this is the one. It's the movie I've been hyped up to see all year, and much like My Little Pony the movie from 2017, it didn't disappoint. But unlike Teen Titans Go to the Movies, where I was unfamiliar with the source yet saw it 7 times, The Grinch is something I'm very familiar with, and saw it 9 times. Yes, 9 times. And I'm just gonna say it, it's better than the Jim Carrey version. Though we'll wait and see about that. Anyway, the movie itself is pretty delightful. Its story and characters are good, and its animation is pretty colorful. The changes from the other adaptations, as well as the original book, work a lot better the more times I watch it, and the new additions I originally felt weren't much, I end up getting used to and liking. The beautiful sets, the various holiday songs, Danny Elfman's music, the cheerful and sad moments, the voice cast, I really had a very good time with this wonderful Christmas film. It's not only one of my new favorite Christmas movies, but it's also my number 1 favorite movie of 2018. And that is all for the movies of 2018. Thank you for joining me. Like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Facebook or Twitter, support me on Patreon, and until next time, for a new video.